Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Among Stouts. If you're new here, my name is Samantha, and today I am bringing you a video that I have been meaning to get out to you guys for a while now. Back whenever I shared what my son, who is in the 8th grade, what his curriculum was for this year, I also shared that I would show you guys how I organized his guide, his binder, and how I was storing all of the things. So I finally have the chance to get this film, and I'm really excited to get it to you because even though I know most of you have already started school, and if you are in classical conversations like we are and you have a kiddo in any of the challenge levels or challenge B and you were like looking for ideas on how to store and do all the things, maybe I will still have some tips and ideas for you to help streamline your kids' homeschool. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. These are available to you when you are on CC Connected, is like the instructions of how to tab out your guides and the Latin. So I will show you really quickly how we have tabbed out my son's Challenge B guide, and this is exactly how we did it last year for Challenge A as well. So we have the first tab that we have in here takes us right to the semester snapshot. So this is the first semester and the second semester, just so that we can keep track of what he was going to be doing throughout the whole year. So we really like having this and being able to have the tab here to take us directly to it. And then the next thing that we have tabbed is the start of the first semester. So this is week 1 here of semester 1. And then we tabbed out the start of the second semester here. So NCC, Foundations and Essentials, runs for 24 weeks, but for the challenge levels, it runs for 30 weeks. So each semester is 15 weeks. And that's how we have that tabbed out at the top. And then along these sides here, we have tabbed out each strand. So this takes us to the logic strand, and then we go to the Latin strand, which is grammar, research strand here, and then we go to the reasoning, exposition, and debate. And if you have not read through, you or your kiddo have not read through the guide, especially the each strand, I would highly recommend doing that, because everything that you need to know for each strand for each week, for most weeks, is back there. So the one that we are going to more this year is the research strand. This tells us here, other side, every week who we are researching, and or later on what we are researching. So being able to come here and find the easy access was really helpful to me whenever I was organizing, printing and organizing sources for him. And so then it also tells you what is expected each week. So for week 1, stargazing, an introduction of the history of astronomy, and everything that you needed to know for what you needed to complete for week 1. And then I'll show you these are various weeks here, and some of them they're just writing a paper, so it says what the expectation of that paper is. And then if there's also a project, it tells you that as well. So like here for Ptolemy, he had to write an essay, and it needed to follow this outline here of introduction, an explanation of geocentric model, including why Ptolemy believed it to be true, and then a conclusion. But then he also had to draw or make a representation to demonstrate the geocentric model. And then it gave ideas. If you choose to make a model instead of drawing, use the medium of your choice. For example, clay, styrofoam, string. So this is kind of just where my son goes every single week to figure out exactly what he needs to do. If he has further questions on it, so like if you look down here for Copernicus, all that handwriting, that's just me explaining to him, like, okay, this is what the guide says, this is how we're going to do it, but this is my expectation of you and what I'm expecting to get out of this assignment. So sometimes I tailor it a little bit to something more challenging for him, or just something that I think that would be more beneficial to him in the way to get it done. But if we turn back to the weeks here, the semesters, we'll start with week 2. So this is where my son and I will go in. So it's laid out all the way for them here. So this is week 2, and everything that they need is usually on these 2 pages here. So what we do is my son has seminar on Monday. So when we come home or when we're here at home on Tuesday before he starts any of his work, we go through here and we go through each strand and we figure out what is due or what needs to be done for the week. And then I have modeled for him. So I started off doing it in the beginning, and then he did it with my help, and now he's doing it on his own. Is we lay out all of the work due for each strand throughout the course of the week. And so once it's done in his planner, he'll mark it off in his planner. So it also gives him an idea of exactly what they're going to be, of an idea of what they're going to be discussing in class. So he's on a different math program and level than what is suggested in Challenge B and from where many of the kids in his class are. So what we did is, and I can show you in there, is when it talks about what specific lesson they're doing in Saxon and the math terms that they're going over, I just have him look over the math terms so that he is aware of what they're going to be talking about, and not like unable to engage in that conversation. So that is everything about the guide and how we have that laid out. Next, I will show you his vocabulary card. So he has taken to Latin. He really enjoys it. He's actually really good at it. And so one of the things that I did as being the lead teacher for my son, at the end of the day, whether you do classical conversations or whatever it is, you're still, as the parent, the teacher. So if something is laid out in a way that doesn't work for your kid or you have full control over making those adjustments, scaling things down, or pushing your kid ahead, or just doing whatever works best for you and your kiddo. And one of the things that I noticed that I kind of had a little hiccup with CC is that my kid didn't struggle with Latin, and I didn't feel the need, nor did he feel the need, to repeat Latin that he'd already done last year and did exceedingly well at. So we have went ahead and started the Challenge B Latin workspace. So I'm not having him do all the work for A, which if you go back and watch my curriculum videos, you'll see that I had the A workspace for him to repeat that. And if you have a kiddo who exceeds at something and they're being asked to do it again, sometimes there can be some emotions coming from that. And this is one of those things where I had to really take a step back and listen to my child and really understand where he was coming from, and then just make the decision that I needed to do what was best for him. So we moved on from the Challenge A Latin for the most part. He's not doing any of the work, but he is looking at the Challenge A guide or Challenge B guide and seeing what vocab and exercises they're doing for that week. And he will review the vocabulary and take a look at the exercises ahead before seminar, so throughout the week. But the work that he's actually completing are exercises and vocab from the Challenge B guide or the Challenge B workspace. So what I ended up doing last year in Challenge A, I bought him index cards, and he was making vocab on those, and they just eventually got too much to deal with. He got to a point to where there was really nowhere to store them, so he just stopped doing them. So I went ahead and ordered, and I will link these down below. I went ahead and ordered the vocabulary cards from Memoria Press. This is what they look like. So that's the front, and then there's the back. And we have actually really liked these. My son has really enjoyed them, has enjoyed using them, and was able to group them out. Let's see. I think the ones that are not rubber band are from Latin that he's already done. And then he has the others. He has them all organized by units. So units that he hasn't done, units that he has done or is working on. So those are his vocabulary words. And then the other thing, and so this is the container that we have them stored in here. It's just like a little card box. I got this at Walmart. It's Pen and Gear. If you look where they have a lot of the work boxes and containers and the office supplies, you can find this on one of the top shelves. So if you are looking for a bigger container for lots of flashcards or things like that, I would highly recommend this one. If I can find it on Walmart, I will link it for you guys. And so this is where he's keeping all of his Latin vocab. And then I have another, I didn't bring it with me, but I have another container. It's just a typical index card or note card container box. And that's where he's storing a lot of his reasoning, logic flashcards. And so these are some of them here. So the ones that he's currently working on, he has stored with his Latin so that he's not using two different boxes. And the ones that he's not working on, which are the note cards for the next semester, those are stored in the index card box. So you will also be making lots of logic flashcards. Again, this is something that you can have your kiddo make on index cards. But if you are, if you go look in CC Connected under the Challenge Bee resources, there is an uploaded file with all of the vocabulary already made into these flashcards. So I just printed those off and we laminated them and cut them out. And this is what he's using. So really easy storage idea for flashcards. And if you have like sight word flashcards, number flashcards, whatever kind of flashcards it is, and you are needing storage, this is something that you can use because you can fit a lot of cards in there. So that isn't just something that's beneficial to Challenge Bee. Okay. So the other thing that I have, this is his binder. And this is the binder that he takes to community every single week. And this is set up similarly to his Challenge A binder. I know last year I said that I would film how I had his binder set up. I just never got around to that. So if you have a kiddo in A, B, or whatever challenge level, this will work fine. I really like having these big 5-star ones that have like extra pockets. He likes to take certain things like that he's going to be reading that day and put them in here because it's easy for him to check. He also has a pencil bag that goes in here that he takes with him every CC day. It's just not in here right now, but that has like highlighters, pencils, extra lead, color pencils, just things like that that he might need. And then I actually need to take this out and print out a new one. But this was just one of the Challenge Bee snapshots that I kept in here for him. I need to make copies of the full snapshot. This one just had the first 6 weeks. And so then in here I have it separated out by strand. So while they study logic, the logic strand is actually math, whereas the reasoning strand is their logic workbooks. So this is for his logic strand, which is math. And I have one of the math triviums in there for him. This just has different formulas, conversions, and things like that, plus a number chart. I don't know that he's ever actually used it, but it's in there if they ever need it or if he needs it for any reason. He's got it, and I've had this for him since A, or maybe even Essentials, I can't remember. And then, like I said, he has all of these printed out, which are something that you can get from the CC Connected. I think these are in the Learning Center under Challenge Bee, and they are the math spotlights. So like I said, he's in a different math program and level, and so in order for him to know what they're doing every week, I went ahead and printed these out and put them in here, just so that he can keep track of like just what they're talking about and what they're doing. So there is the math spotlights for the first, I think I just did like the first 6 weeks. So I need to go and print the rest of those. And then the math terms for each week. These have all the way up to week 15. So this is all of the math terms that they are discussing for the first 15 weeks. So then we get to the grammar again, which is Latin. So he's got his Latin trivium in there. And then I just have some charts for him. So this is a Now, declension chart, which he's actually really good with his declensions. So I don't think that he really needs this anymore, but just in case, it's in there. I also have the Challenge Bee vocabulary printed out for him here. So this goes through all of the vocabulary from A plus B, and there's 2 pages to that. And then again, I have the weekly snippets here of what they're going to be discussing, just so that we know, since he's not doing the A workspace, just so that he can keep up with exactly what they're going to be going over and what they're going to be looking at. It's a little bit easier to see here versus having to go in and out of his guide every time, so he can just quickly go in here and see what they're going to be talking about. And then I have a folder. Not every one of these has a folder, but the grammar does have a folder, and this is where I keep his quizzes. So and I laugh because I don't really quiz or test him on any of these, but I bought the Henley over the summer. I bought the Henley test and quizzes booklet, just so that he could keep up with it and not lose anything, and not, it's really easy whenever you don't do something for a few months to forget it. And I think this is also why he was like bored of doing the Workspace A Latin again, is because over the summer I did have him, all of the units that they went through in A, I had him do those quizzes and the test for that. And so he enjoyed it and said that he still wanted to continue on with those. So all of the ones that he hasn't done yet for the units that are in the B workspace, I printed out I took out all of the quizzes and tests for him. And as he completes units in the B workspace, I'll just give him the quizzes and tests. He likes those. I'm not saying it's something that you have to do, but he enjoys it, so that's what he has. And then we go into the research strand, and he has, I got him all of the classical acts and facts cards for the famous scientists, and he uses every one of these as one of his sources for his research projects and papers. I also have rubrics in here for his writing. So these are IEW style rubrics, and this is just for him to be able to write good papers. I didn't want him to lose everything that he had learned in Essentials with IEW to now suddenly not use any of that in his papers. So they do write papers with the Lost Tools of Writing, but the research papers, if your kids have never done IEW, that program leads really well to writing research papers. And so this is just a way for him to maintain his structure and to check off some of the dress ups to also have a good style. So good structure and style for those research papers. I do have expectations of that out of him. So then here is just another rubric for science and for the projects. This is just me telling him, like, this is what I'm looking for. Not necessarily for me to grade it, even though it does have a grade here, but what I'm expecting, and I want him to always be looking to exceed those expectations and not necessarily to do the bare minimum. So this just gives him an idea of what I'm expecting out of him. And then this is a study guide for defeating Darwinism. We are not in that yet, so I don't know how helpful or useful it is, but it's just one of those resources that I got from CC Connected that I put in here for him, as well as these are some other flashcards for chemistry that I will eventually take out of here and make into flashcards, but for right now this is just kind of a holding spot for that. And then here is his research folder, and this is filled with different articles and resources for all of those scientists that he is having to do research papers on. And that's where he's keeping all of those. And then we go into reasoning. I have a bookmark here that I got off of CC Connected, printed and laminated for him. And then there's just he's actually been doing really well with the introductory logic, but this just has a lot of the definitions on here of what they're learning. I don't know that he's actually needed it. We watch the videos together, and then anything that he needs further explanation for, he'll just read the lesson in the book, and then he completes his exercises, and so far he's been doing really well with that. And then there is his folder, and he has just one of his assignments in there that he did. And then here's his exposition. Again, here's a rubric for all of the essays that he will be doing for Lost Tools, and then all of the worksheets. So I bought the Lost Tools of Writing student book last year in a set with the teacher's manual, and I didn't know if I needed to buy the student book again, and I almost did, but then I saw there is a printable on CC Connected with all of the worksheets. So that's what I did. So this packet here, like you see here, that says Essay 1, Invention Annie Chart Arrangement from Annie to Outline. And I just printed these out for him to do. And for the most part, he does all of them. There's some that he didn't do like a page of the worksheets, but he still ends up getting his paper done. So whatever, it's a tool. All curriculum and, you know, printouts and all those things are just a tool. So his papers, in my opinion, have been fine. So I haven't seen the need to have to force him into doing every single one of those worksheets. And then he has in his folder, so I also have a folder here, and this is where he keeps the worksheets that he's currently working on. So he's got that for his little britches paper, which is the one that they recently read. And then we come to debate, and for debate they are reading 2 different biographies of famous people in America. So there are men and women in there, scientists, founding fathers, all different sorts of people. And so this is just where he comes, and if he needs to have notes or whatever, he puts them in here. And then I have some history snippets. So this is just a little extra from extra notes on all of those people. So there's Ben Franklin, George Washington, Daniel Boone, Paul Revere and Patrick Henry, Sam Houston and Robert E. Lee, Dolly Madison and Sacagawea. And so that's just an idea of some of the people. And then he's got a folder with more of the people in there. So the 2 that he's currently reading and taking notes on are in there. And then that is it for his binder. It's kind of a lot like that's in there, but it keeps him organized. It keeps me organized, and it works for us. So again, when I share these things with you, I'm not saying this is how you need to do things. This is the best way to do things, but simply what works for us. And if maybe you're struggling in an area of organizing for your Challenge B kiddos, I just hope that some of what I share that works for us will also be beneficial to you, and not necessarily you must do these things because my way is the only way kind of a thing. Okay. So before I share with you the setup of how I have all of his curriculum stored that he uses daily, I just wanted to share with you guys like the backup stuff. So the things that he has that he's just not doing yet. I have all of his architect books. He's just going to be using these throughout the year for architect study or architecture/architects, famous architects study. And he has these in here, Defeating Darwinism. So that is in here. He also has Words Aptly Spoken short stories that is upcoming. We have, and I have to do a little update. I had said at one point that we weren't doing any gather round studies this year, and then I changed my mind. We are doing U.S. history, and he's doing that with us as a family. It's something we do in the morning very quickly. We are doing currently U.S. history 2, so he has U.S. history 3 stored in here waiting. We have this in there because this still has review questions for the books that he's currently reading. He recently finished Where the Red Fern Grows, and he's currently reading The Hiding Place. So this just has questions for review that I can grab and talk through those books with him. And so like I mentioned with the Henley first year, he has the quizzes and tests in here. And then right now, this is the math that he was working on. In the beginning, he's gone through the first 3 chapters of this, and then we kind of hit a bump in the road of just a couple of concepts that he needed more work on. So we have tabled this for now. Because I did also use their additional worksheets that you can print off online for more practice, but they only have like 1 additional worksheet. So we needed more practice with some of those concepts than just 1 extra worksheet. So I switched him to something else in the meantime while he really grasped those concepts before we move back into this and go to chapter 4. And I probably really should do an update video about this. So I purchased him not the entire set, but just the workbooks where he needed help. So I have him working on Algebra 1 from ACE. And so this is it's ACE Paces. And these are 2 that he's not currently doing. He's in a different booklet. And I don't even know that he would need these other 2 booklets, but they came in a set. These are also really inexpensive. So if you saw my video about Life Pack, or you've seen my videos about Christian Light, ACE works in the same way as those, where you can just buy it in booklet form very inexpensively, and you can just buy a couple booklets to try, or just go take a look at what concept is in which booklet and buy just those. And so that's kind of what I did, and it has been so good. I think ACE Paces works really well with Learn Math Fast because it kind of teaches in the same way. Where it has the objective and then the teaching, and then there will be great examples of just breaking down exactly how to do that type of problem. And so that is really what I have in this container, or upcoming things. And this sits just right over on the bookshelves. I have 4 of these, 1 for each one of my kiddos, so all of them have like the books that they're going to be reading this year, or curriculum that they're going to be doing later on. It's just kind of a holding place for that.
Man, my throat gets so itchy and scratchy filming these videos.
Okay, so let's talk about where all of his work goes throughout the week. And that is in here. And so you guys have seen, I have a really old video from a few years ago, the curriculum containers that my kids used to have. And actually my youngest still uses that style of container. I actually have my camera up on one of them right now. But this one I got at Hobby Lobby for a really good deal. I think they were only like $8, which was a steal compared to the ones that you can get at Michael's. So I picked this up for each one of my kids except for my youngest, just because they have more, and I wanted just for them to have more space. But also the other containers that they had, I have never been able to use their tray in there. So I wanted them to have space to hold their stuff, but also to have space for these trays. So in his tray, he's got some other flashcards that he's working on currently, a glue stick, pencil and lead, and then some tabbing flags. He has a protractor, compass, and each one of my kids have markers, crayons, and colored pencils, which he doesn't really use, but I wanted him to have it. The colored pencils he does use. He really likes to draw everything out. So if any of the projects say to draw or make something, he's 100% going to always draw it. So he's got colored pencils in there for that. Here is his planner. I think I shared this with you guys in my planning video. And so, like I mentioned, this is just where he is planning everything out for the week to keep on track of his work. And then we have his Latin books, and like I mentioned, these are also tabbed off. Okay, so I can tell you quickly how they're tabbed, but if you are in challenge already or going into challenge, there is a tabbing like cheat sheet on there that tells you exactly how to do it. So for this grammar book here, it's adjectives, adverbs, numerals, and then pronouns and personals. And then along the side here, you have verbs, passive, irregulars, syntax, clauses, cases, pronouns, adjectives, special verbals, rules, prepositions, and diagram. Having it tabbed out makes it just really easy for your kiddos as they're doing their exercises to get to the right pages, or to go and quickly look things up. If they know that they're looking for the cases, they can quickly go to that or whatever it is. And then in the bigger book here, I've also seen where people have had these like, they've had the binding cut and they spiral them. I offer that to my son, but he likes having them just like this. We haven't had any issues with him like holding them and reading them because they don't lay perfectly flat, but over time, the more they get used, the more flat they get. And it stays put together, whereas I've seen some of the ones that get spiral bound start to fall apart and you're losing pages and things like that. So that's one thing to consider. So in here on the top, we have all of the review pages tabbed out. So 1 to 5, 3 to 2, and 6 to 14. And then over here, some of these I can't even read anymore. This is Unit 1 though. It doesn't even say Unit 1 on that flag anymore. Okay, so you have your declensions and then your adjectives, and then it goes into conjugations, pronouns, conjugation, indicative, perfect, active, and then you're going to tab off your exercises. So these are all new. We initially had all of the exercises for Challenge A tabbed off, but he went through and took those all out, and now he has added all of the lessons for the Challenge B workspace. And then this is just L to E and E to L down there. So whatever lessons your kiddos are working on, whether it's in the Challenge A lessons, you'll want to have all of those tabbed out. And then for him, it was easier to remove all of those and then go and tab out the B workspace lessons. And so once he moves on from the B workspace, he'll probably take these all out and then tab the one lessons in there, or the last few lessons that he has to finish. He actually has the goal of wanting to just finish this out this year, and I kind of agree with him. I don't see the point in repeating something if you've already got it over and over again. So if he has B and I give him all of the quizzes and the tests and he's got it down, we're just gonna move on. And that just seems to be what's working best for my son, and I don't feel bad about it. So there's that. And like I said, he's doing the Latin B workspace, so that is in there. This is the math that he's currently working on. So this is the Ace Pace Algebra 1 1100, and yeah, we have really been liking this. And then for his Learn Math Fast, all of the worksheets are in the book, but what I did is they also have them online. So I just printed off all of the worksheets and I made this little workbook for him. So like I said, he's done all the way up to the Chapter 3 test, and he will be starting Chapter 4 once we get through this book, because this book has all of the style of problems of the first 3 chapters from Learn Math Fast, and Chapter 3 is where he had some struggles. So we're going to get through this workbook and then we'll go to Chapter 4. And we may or may not need the other paces that we bought, but if we need them, we have them, or whatever. And so then he's got his logic in here. And I also went ahead and spiral bound his test and quiz packet, which again, I wasn't actually planning on doing the test and quizzes, but he asked to do it, so he's gonna do those. And then this is where things get a little different for me, my son, and how we do things in our homeschool. You could do Challenge B and how it's written and nothing else, and that is perfectly fine. That's your prerogative. Or you can choose to add things on. And again, I feel like that's our prerogative and something that we choose to do. We think that we need more English grammar, added in. And we also believe that the science could be done better. So we, this semester, are doing The World of Astronomy in this book with the Memoria Press Astronomy Guide. And this isn't something that he's doing every day on top of the work that he's already doing, or even every week. There's actually a few lessons in here. I mean, if you look at this book, it's not very big at all. And so what we have found works is if he has the extra time to do it one day out of the week, he'll do it that one day. But for the most part, on the weeks that he has had a break is when we have just done this and busted through like half of it one week break. And then now we're on a second break for the week, and he's going to be able to probably finish this off. So that is how that works for us. Now, we also have the chemistry version of this that he's going to do in the second semester. And he gets the entire semester. So like he has this whole first semester to complete this. There's only 13 lessons total. He does, and like I said, each semester is 15 weeks. And we also have a couple of breaks. So this is more than doable for him. And then this year for grammar, I had considered adding in Fix-It Grammar for him, but I changed my mind, and just in listening to his writing, and I do edit his papers and seeing all of that, and just having an understanding of where he's at with grammar, I went ahead and after looking through all of the things, I got him the Grammar and Composition 2 from Abeka. He's not doing the composition work in here because he writes enough papers, but he is doing the grammar concept. So this is what he got. This is what he has, and just kind of, this is a much bigger book, but like I said, he's not doing the composition part. But he is doing all of the grammar components in here, and it's not a lot. Like, it's not a whole lot of added in extra work. But my whole thing, like so one thing that I have really began to understand is that I don't think that, and so in our experience and from what I've seen in the last couple of years, I just don't think that CC, their idea of only doing Latin for grammar is sufficient. I know 100% that my son needed more actual English grammar practice, and so for that reason I'm adding it in. So if you find that with your own kiddo that they're still needing grammar practice, don't feel bad if you need to give them that, whether it's through the means of Abeka's program or Fix-It Grammar or whatever it is. Just find what works best for your kiddos if they're struggling with really understanding like the parts of speech, or using punctuations, or not having run-on sentences, or whatever it may be. If they are struggling with some of those grammar concepts, don't feel bad at adding it in, because if you are a CC family, just because I personally, in my own opinion, don't think that CC has done justice by only having Latin as grammar. Okay, so that's everything, and this has been a much longer video than I anticipated it being, but if you are in challenge or you're looking forward to challenge, just knowing that you need that, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of components to it, and so I just wanted to share with you guys as in depth as I could of how we are storing all of his things, and you know what it looks like for him in his binder that he's taking to class, and how we plan out his day. So I really hope that this has been helpful to you in some way. If you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like. If you aren't already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.